Somewhere off the coast of South Africa, the most feared predator in the ocean is doing something that seems impossible. It is running, not toward prey, away from it. The great white shark, an animal that has dominated these waters for 400 million years, is fleeing in terror. And the reason is not human. It is not a boat. It is not pollution. It is another animal. One with a brain 5 times larger than its own. One that hunts in packs, communicates across miles, and has figured out how to kill the unkillable. This is the story of how the ocean's most notorious killer became the hunted, and how 2 individual predators, known only by their names, Port and Starboard, are rewriting everything scientists thought they knew about who really rules the sea. For decades, the waters around False Bay, near Cape Town, South Africa, were considered one of the most spectacular wildlife theaters on Earth. Every autumn, between September and December, great white sharks would gather here by the dozens. They came for the same reason they always come: food. Specifically, the thousands of young Cape Fur seals that crowded onto a rocky outcrop called Seal Island. The sharks circled these waters like ghosts, massive, patient, prehistoric. They waited for the right moment. And then, in an explosion of power, they would breach, launching their 2,000-pound bodies completely out of the water, jaws open, a seal clutched between rows of serrated teeth. Photographers called it air jaws. Scientists called it one of the most remarkable hunting behaviors ever documented. Tourists flew from across the globe just to witness it. And then, in 2015, something changed. The first sign was subtle. Researchers noticed fewer sharks than expected. A few empty days on the water. Some unusually quiet mornings near Seal Island. But False Bay had always had fluctuations. Great whites are migratory. They travel enormous distances. Perhaps they were simply elsewhere. Perhaps prey distribution had shifted. Perhaps the water was too warm, or too cold, or not quite right. But then the bodies started washing up on shore. In 2017, scientists documented 7 dead great white sharks along the coastline. One of them was a famous female, 16 feet long, known to researchers as Khaleesi. Her carcass had something strange about it. Her belly had been torn open, and her liver, an organ that can account for nearly a third of a shark's total body mass, was gone, surgically removed. The rest of her body was intact. Whatever killed her did not eat her flesh, did not consume her muscle. It took only the liver and left the rest to rot. At first, scientists were baffled. What predator could kill a great white shark and then leave most of the body behind? What animal was powerful enough, precise enough, and selective enough to extract a single organ from the ocean's most dangerous fish? The answer arrived in the form of 2 dorsal fins. Both of them collapsed, one leaning left, one leaning right, port and starboard. These 2 male orcas, named for the nautical directions their fins point, had been seen in South African waters as early as 2009. At the time, no one paid them much attention. Orcas, also known as killer whales, are not uncommon in the region. Different populations hunt different prey. Some specialize in fish, some hunt seals, some target other whales. But in South Africa, orcas had never been documented hunting great white sharks, until now. Port and Starboard belong to a rare ecotype of orca characterized by worn, flattened teeth, evidence of a diet heavy in cartilaginous prey like sharks. They are not like the salmon-eating orcas of the Pacific Northwest. They are not like the seal-hunting transients of California. They are something else entirely. And they have developed a method of killing great whites that is both brutally efficient and disturbingly intelligent. It begins with pursuit. Orcas are faster than great whites. They can sustain speeds of over 30 miles per hour. Great whites, while capable of explosive bursts during ambush attacks, cannot match that sustained pace. When Port and Starboard locate a shark, they chase it. They tire it. They drive it toward the surface where it has nowhere to escape. And then comes the kill. Orcas have learned to exploit a biological vulnerability that great whites cannot control. It is called tonic immobility. When a shark is flipped upside down, its body enters a state of temporary paralysis. Breathing slows. Muscle tone disappears. The animal becomes completely helpless. Scientists first documented this phenomenon in laboratory settings. But orcas have figured it out in the wild. And they use it with surgical precision. Observations suggest that Port and Starboard ram into the shark at high speed, striking its side to stun it. Then, using their powerful jaws and coordinated movements, they flip the shark over. Once the shark is belly up, tonic immobility takes hold. The predator freezes. And then the orca bites, but the bite is not random. The orcas grip the pectoral fin, the large fin on the side of the shark's body, and begin to pull. They shake the shark violently, tearing at the abdomen until the liver is exposed. And then they extract it, sometimes swallowing it whole, sometimes carrying it in their mouths like a trophy. In June 2023, researchers witnessed something unprecedented. Starboard killed a great white shark alone, without Port's help. Without a coordinated pack hunt, a single orca, targeting a juvenile shark near Seal Island in Mossel Bay, gripped the animal's pectoral fin and eviscerated it in less than 2 minutes. Observers on a nearby vessel saw Starboard surface moments later with a bloody, peach-colored piece of liver in his mouth. The entire attack, from pursuit to kill to extraction, took less time than it takes to boil water. This was not the behavior of an instinct-driven predator. This was learned, refined, perfected. Why the liver? The answer is energy. A great white shark's liver is not like other organs. It can weigh over 500 pounds in a large adult. It is saturated with squalene, an oily compound that sharks use to regulate buoyancy. Unlike bony fish, sharks do not have swim bladders. Their livers serve that function instead, filled with fat that keeps them neutrally buoyant in the water column. That fat is also extraordinarily nutrient-dense. Rough calculations suggest that a single great white shark liver could sustain an orca for an entire day. The rest of the carcass, by comparison, is mostly cartilage and lean muscle, not worth the effort. So the orcas take what they need and leave the rest. This is not mindless predation. It is optimization. The consequences of Port and Starboard's hunting have been catastrophic for South Africa's great white population. Not because the orcas are killing sharks in massive numbers. The body count is relatively low, likely a few dozen animals over several years. But the psychological impact has been devastating. Great whites are fleeing. In 2009, researchers at the Farallon Islands off the coast of San Francisco documented a similar phenomenon. 17 great white sharks, all fitted with electronic tracking tags, were circling southeast Farallon Island, hunting elephant seals as they had done for years. And then, on November 2nd, 2 pods of orcas passed through the area. They were present for less than a day, maybe a few hours. They did not kill any sharks that anyone observed. But within 8 hours of their arrival, all 17 sharks had vanished. They did not return for an entire season. Some were later detected hundreds of miles offshore. One was tracked swimming all the way to Hawaii. In every documented case at the Farallones, when orcas arrived, sharks fled immediately. And not just for days, for months, sometimes for an entire year. The same pattern has emerged in South Africa. Before Port and Starboard, False Bay was famous for its abundance of great whites. By 2018, sightings had dropped to nearly zero. The boats that once took tourists to watch sharks hunt seals now returned empty. Shark Spotters, a local organization that monitors beaches and warns swimmers of nearby predators, recorded 0 confirmed great white sightings for an entire year. It was unprecedented in their 16-year history, and the sharks have not returned. 8 years later, False Bay remains largely devoid of great whites. The animals that once made this coastline legendary have relocated. Some moved east to Mossel Bay and Plettenberg Bay. Some went as far as Algoa Bay, which saw an 8-fold increase in shark activity. They are not dead, they are displaced, driven from their ancestral hunting grounds by 2 animals that figured out how to kill them. Scientists call this a landscape of fear. It is a concept borrowed from terrestrial ecology, describing how the presence of a predator can change the behavior and distribution of prey species across an entire ecosystem. Wolves do this to elk in Yellowstone. Lions do this to zebras on the Serengeti. And now orcas are doing this to great whites in the ocean. The mere presence of Port and Starboard, even for a few hours, is enough to scatter sharks and disrupt their feeding behavior for months at a time. The ecological consequences are still unfolding. In False Bay, with great whites gone, Cape Fur seal populations have begun to increase. The seals now raft farther from shore, showing less stress, foraging more boldly. 7-gill sharks, a smaller species that great whites once preyed upon, have moved into the vacated waters. Their numbers have risen. And as seven-gill sharks eat more benthic fish and smaller sharks, those populations have declined. The food web is shifting. The ecosystem is reorganizing itself around the absence of its apex predator. And all of this traces back to two orcas with bent dorsal fins. What makes orcas capable of doing what no other predator has done? The answer is not size, though they are large. Adult males can reach 32 feet in length and weigh over 6 tons. The answer is not speed, though they are fast. The answer is intelligence. Orcas possess the second largest brain of any animal on Earth relative to body size. Their neocortex, the region responsible for complex cognition, problem-solving and social behavior, is highly developed. They live in matrilineal pods, led by older females who pass down hunting techniques across generations. Different orca populations around the world have developed distinct cultures, complete with unique vocalizations, dietary preferences, and hunting methods. The wave-washing orcas of Antarctica, who create coordinated waves to knock seals off ice floes, use techniques that are never seen in other populations. The salmon-hunting residents of the Pacific Northwest use entirely different strategies. And the shark-killing orcas of South Africa have developed their own specialized methods, refined over years and taught to younger members of their group. Great whites, by contrast, are solitary hunters. They rely on ambush, on stealth, on explosive speed and brute force. These traits have served them well for hundreds of millions of years, but they were not enough when faced with an opponent that hunts in teams, communicates across distances, and learns from each encounter. Some researchers believe that Port and Starboard may have once hunted marine mammals like seals and dolphins, but those prey are fast, intelligent, and difficult to catch. Sharks, on the other hand, are slower over distance. They do not anticipate complex strategies, and once flipped upside down, they cannot fight back. From the orca's perspective, great whites may be easier prey than the marine mammals they once pursued. This is not cruelty. It is efficiency. There is something almost unsettling about watching footage of these hunts. The precision with which the orcas work. The way they seem to know exactly where to strike, exactly how to flip the shark, exactly which organ to extract. It raises questions that science is still working to answer. How did they learn this? Is it instinctual, or was it invented by an individual and then taught to others? Could other orca populations eventually adopt the same techniques? In Mexico's Gulf of California, another pod of orcas has recently been documented hunting juvenile great white sharks using a nearly identical method. Flip the shark, induce tonic immobility, extract the liver. The researchers studying this pod, known informally as Moctezuma's pod, believe these orcas discovered the technique independently, which suggests that this behavior may spread, that orcas around the world could begin targeting great whites in ways they never have before. If that happens, the implications for great white populations are difficult to predict. These sharks already face numerous threats from human activity, including overfishing, bycatch, habitat degradation, and climate change. Adding pressure from orca predation could push vulnerable populations even further toward decline, or it could simply force great whites into new territories, disrupting ecosystems wherever they go. For now, Port and Starboard continue to patrol South African waters. They have been seen as far north as Namibia and as far east as the Eastern Cape. Wherever they appear, sharks disappear, sometimes within hours. The cage diving industry in Gansby, once thriving on great white tourism, has been devastated. Some operators have gone out of business, others have pivoted to other species. The ecological theater that once made this coastline famous has been fundamentally altered by two individuals. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part of this story. Not that orcas can kill great whites, not that sharks flee in response, but that so much change has been driven by so few animals. Two orcas, two bent dorsal fins, and an entire ecosystem reshaped in their wake. Sharks have survived 5 mass extinctions. They have outlasted the dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. They have endured ice ages, asteroid impacts, and the rise of countless species that have since vanished from the Earth. They are among the most successful predators in evolutionary history. But for 400 million years, they never faced an opponent like this. An opponent that learns, that adapts, that cooperates, that remembers. The ocean has a new ruler, and the king is running scared.